Kids' critical thinking skills is so important and crucial, but it can be easily forgotten. So here to help us out is author, family therapist, and president of the Green Gate Leadership, Dolan-Del. Pleasure having you as always.
Nice being here, Lauren. And I want to share this quick story. I was listening to one of these talk radio shows where people call in and talk with the host. And this man called in and he said, I listened to one radio show and what they said about the election I didn't agree with. I listened to another one. I didn't agree with what they had to say. And the host said, well, you're going to have to think it through and come to your own perspective, right? Can you do that? And there was a long pause, and the man said, no. And I got to tell you, that's really scary to me because we want our kids to be able to evaluate all the information that's coming at them and think it through against what else they know and decide for themselves. One other point that I just want to mention is I was at a professional conference recently, and there was a speaker. And the speaker was a futurist. And a futurist is somebody who studies technology trends and social trends to look at how things are going to be. And she said there is a new profession that we're going to see very soon.
Really?
And that is critical thinker. Like attorneys, like accountants. I find that scary.
A little bit.
Yeah. And so I think that there are things that parents can do. And the first one, as always, is to be a role model.
That's huge because kids, especially younger kids, are like sponges. And if they're hearing things from their classmates or from people on the bus, it's so easy to believe those things or what they see in magazines or things like that. But you have to teach them that, you know, the parents are the role models, not the people that you see on TV.
Don't just take in
Except for us on Mass Appeal. I mean the bad stuff. No.
Yeah, don't just take it in and make it your own. So, for example, the things that you do here when it comes to do-it-yourself, like making cards and various craft projects, there's thinking in our world that the solution to everything is to buy something.
Yeah.
Any need, we're going to buy something. If we can teach our kids, think that through a little bit. Maybe you can borrow something from a friend, or maybe you can make something. Little things like that. And if we do reading on our own, if we pursue information in depth. So, for example, right now, there's a huge amount of talking about the opioid crisis, right? Well, if you want to understand that, you probably want to do some reading. There's a great book that's called Chasing the Scream, and it's by a guy named Johann Hari. He looks at the whole history of substance abuse and the ways we've tried to address it. That kind of in-depth knowledge, if you generate that as a parent, it is a role model for your child to think deeply, to look for information, not just take information from one network or another.
Sure, and you know, we're going to be discussing developing their own opinions. Now next, if you are going to watch television with them, whether it is a sitcom or the news, invite them into having a conversation about what's going on.
Sure. So The Voice is a very popular TV show, right? And if we can talk about, after we watch it, we can talk about things like, how do people generate great talent? Well, it takes a lot of discipline and work over time. What are the values in this show and in other shows? And the values might be that competition is important. And we could talk about where is collaboration versus competition? What's good about both? Also, just the idea that talent isn't about our appearance. Talent is about what we know, what we can show the world, what we can share. Those kinds of conversations help kids to think about other kinds of information sources that they're always exposed to.
And also it teaches them to not only form their own opinions, but to express their opinions. Like we always talk about, you know, just listen to what your teacher says or listen to what your professor is saying. If you have a different opinion, you're allowed to voice that opinion without being disrespectful.
Right. You don't want to be like an empty vessel who takes in what your teacher or what anybody who is in a position of authority gives to you. You want to think it through yourself and ask questions. Of course, we're going to ask questions of each other respectfully.
And teachers appreciate when you ask questions.
Absolutely. Most adults like to help kids look at the world and evaluate. It's a very important thing for all of us to do. It equips them to feel grounded, to feel confident and to feel competent.
And that's what it's all about. You have made me critically think about critical thinking skills. Ken, thank you so much for coming in. More information about this right on our website on mymassappeal.com.